Hi, I'm Hikaru, a dancer. Today's video is about a technique that is difficult even for professionals. Today's video is about a technique that is difficult even for professionals. I'd like to talk about a technique that is difficult even for professionals. I'm going to talk mainly about the movement of the spine and how to keep the hold facing the dancer. I'm going to talk about the movement of the spine and how to keep the hold pointed in the right direction. I'm going to talk about the trajectory of the spine. This may sound a little complicated. I know it may sound a little complicated, but even professional teachers talk about it in a difficult way. I will be talking about the difficulty of the method. I'm going to kata amat patay nagta kama pa daw ano kama po so scared. Something that is a little bit more difficult. I think it's a little bit difficult to talk about it. I think the difficulty level is a little bit high, but I'd like to talk about it as if I'm dancing with people who got wrong too. Attach ka na isaw ko ko ama atakapantay maboreku. I hope you will listen to it as a trivia knowledge. I hope you will listen to it as a bit of trivia. I hope you will subscribe to my channel where I explain useful information about ballroom dancing in as simple a way as possible. Let's get right to today's main topic. Let's get right to the point. Today we are going to talk about a technique that is difficult even for professionals. Let's start with the conclusion. Basically, the direction of the spine is, for example, the direction I'm moving right now. For example, if I were you right now, I would walk toward the side of the screen as seen from you. I would be walking toward the side of the screen. From your point of view, I would walk sideways toward the side of the screen like this. I would walk from one end of the screen to the other. The destination of the walk is toward the opposite end of the screen. The hold, the frame should be facing you while your face and legs are walking straight toward the edge of the screen. In the case of the previous example, I am facing to the right side of the screen, so I will keep my right side facing you. I'm going to point my spine straight toward you while the hold is pointing to the right. I think that there is a pattern that the spine does not move in a straight line towards you. This is very difficult to do. When you turn your body toward hold like this, your spine turns with it. When you turn your spine toward a hold like this, your legs turn with it. If you don't move forward, you want to walk with your legs toward the direction of the hold. So the hold is toward the other person, but your spine is going straight. So the hold is facing the other person, but my spine is going straight ahead. This is a rather rudimentary step, and when the step of walking in a straight line does not appear, well, it becomes difficult to walk in a straight line. In other words, when the step of walking in a straight line does not appear, it becomes curved, right? So now we are doing it in the forward direction, but there is also a backward pattern, right? There is a pattern of walking backward and walking to the center of the circle, right? If it were Latin, these patterns would be alternating. In Latin, there is a rotation here, and a backward movement there. In this complicated movement, the hold is held out to the other person, and the destination of the hold and the destination of the person are clearly defined. The quality of the step is determined by whether or not you have a clear idea of where you are going and where you are going to go. So for example, even if you are doing the same Rumba walk in Latin, the teachers who are good at the Rumba walk are not doing the same steps compared to you. They are doing the same steps, but they are not the same. I felt that they were doing the same steps, but they were doing them differently. Their legs seem to be 5 times longer than mine. This is the difference in the quality of the music. This is true for both standard and Latin music. So in both standard and Latin music, couples can keep their arms connected beautifully. It is as if their arms are really connected, as if they are magnets. They were able to move on to the next step, and the standards were also set. They would go into the next step, and the standard would go around together beautifully without falling apart. Even if you dance the same foot, changing the shape of the foot in various ways. Even if you dance with different forms of the same foot, the position does not collapse and there is no overlap at all. In order to maintain a beautiful position with your partner, you need to practice in the way you are doing now. In standard practice, I would say that the practice of walking in a straight line with my hold facing you is what is called promenade position practice. In Latin, men practice closed position. In Latin, men can practice closed hip twist. In Latin, when a man does a closed hip twist or an advanced hip twist, the direction of motion is toward you, but the hold is toward the woman who is walking backward. The woman is moving backward, so she has to hold out the hold in that direction. In this way, the woman's hold will be used by the other person. In other words, your hold must be opened with a clear understanding of which side the other person is on. In this way, the dancer must know which way his or her partner is holding and open the door. When a woman dances with someone she is meeting for the first time, she cannot do this because she does not know the next step. It is difficult to know which way to go, but when you get used to it to some extent, you may be able to handle it. I think I can handle it when I get used to it to some extent. Well, it is more like a competition or a demonstration. I think it is best to do it in a certain step, like in a competition or a demonstration. So I think it is important to keep the hold facing the opponent in such a situation. So the hold is facing the opponent, but the direction of movement is the same. So it is important to practice walking with your body in a slightly twisted position. For example, in Latin, it is important to practice zigzagging. For example, in Latin, it's called zigzag, and in Samba, it's called zigzag. For example, in Latin, there's a step called zigzag, which is often practiced by women, and syncopated zigzag in Samba. For example, in Latin, there's a step called zigzag, which is a syncopated zigzag for women in Samba. If you want to be steady, you should practice it as well. Then your step is backward, sideways, forward, sideways, backward, sideways, forward, sideways, and so on. Then your steps are backward, sideways, forward, sideways, backward, sideways, forward, sideways. So this position of the base hold does not actually change. The position of the base hold does not actually change, but it just happens to be pointed here because the opponent is here. The position of the base hold does not change. The position of the base hold is here. And why? Whether you put it out here or not, but the position of the base hold can be either here or there. But it looks more appealing to the viewer if you leave it out like this. So he often turns his head and raises his hand like this. Basically, the position of the base is whether you can hold out both hands to the other person or not, and whether you can raise both hands to the other person or not. The other is whether or not you can hold out both hands to the opponent, and also at what timing you bring both hands to the base. I think it is also important to know when to bring both hands to the base position. There is a pattern of intentionally opening the hands. And of course, there is a pattern of opening the hands in Latin to make a rotation. When you turn to the next step, you can turn to the next step, and then you can turn to the next step again. This technique can be used in many situations, such as when you turn and face the other person and then move on to the next step. It may be a bit difficult until you get used to it, but if you can do it, it is a good thing. But when you can do this, you will be able to limit your range of movement in a good way. The point is that you have to walk like this. So your stride should be as large as possible. I think it will become impossible to take large strides. I think it will become impossible to take a big step. If you try to go too big, you may lose your hold, etc. So if you keep your frame facing your opponent, you will find that the range of feeling of your feet will be different on each side. If you do this, you will find that the width of your foot is different on the left and right sides of your body. So it depends on the difference between the left and right side of my body. So I think it is important for everyone to be aware of the difference between the left and right sides of your body. It is important to understand the difference between the left and right sides of your body. When you're dancing, you should be aware of the difference between the left and right sides of your body. If we can understand the difference between the left and right sides of our body, we can understand the amount of our feet. They need to put out, or the body sensation that we need to have in order to put our feet in the same position every time we dance. For example, I think it is necessary to place a hold here so that I can take this step, but not that step. So I would like you to see the steps, the steps, the stride, and so on. So I would like you to help me to improve the steps, such as the stride length and the sense of the couple. It is easy to lose the sense of couple. We talked a bit too much about Latin today. I'm talking about Latin a little too much today. But I think that the relationship value or the combination of two people can be well managed. I mean, the value of the relationship or the combination of the two of them. When the relationship or the combination of the two of you is not going well, I would like to see you hold on to it. I would like to ask you in the first place, am I directing this hold toward the other person? Am I pointing it toward the other person? Am I pointing the hold in the right direction? Am I holding the hold properly to the place where the woman is? If you check these questions again, you will be able to dance more smoothly. I think you will be able to dance more smoothly. Please watch today's video and check your holds. I hope you will watch today's video and you will be able to clearly distinguish the direction of your hold while keeping the frame facing the other dancer. If you can clearly distinguish between the two, you may be able to surpass even the pros. If you can clearly separate the two, you may be able to surpass even the professionals. If you can clearly distinguish between the two, you may be able to surpass the professionals. If you enjoyed today's video, please subscribe to our channel and click the good button. Thank you very much for watching today's video.